everyone, welcome back to another video. Today I want to discuss the different age groups and how they're doing financially. What I mean by the different age groups is baby boomers born from 1946 to 64. They're the ones that are holding the most money overall right now, right? As we know, baby boomers, in my opinion, came after a generation that really had no growth. They had to save, they had to really manage their money. And there wasn't really any major financial growth for that generation, the silent one. Now we have the baby boomers who you could have really put anything. You could have bought a building anywhere, almost 99% anywhere in America, and you would be in the positive after all this inflation and money printing. Then we got Generation X, 1965 to 1980. They have the second highest savings, as is to be expected because they are, older. But they also have a lot of retirement balances. They're the ones who created like the 401ks and Social Security and all that good stuff. Then you got millennials, such as myself. I'm a 30-year-old, and we are in the middle of everything. We have moderate balance, less than boomers, less than Gen X, but we are, I guess, in my personal opinion, every generation is going to say the same thing. I've had the hardest, blah, blah, blah. But I truly believe that millennials have had the hardest. Now, don't get me wrong, Gen Z is they're already technically working. They're already putting into the economy. They have the worst. And let me explain why. Millennials, we grew up in an era where you can still somewhat afford a home, a car, with a decent income. And when I say decent, I mean it didn't have to be 9 times or earning wages. Gen Zs, on the other hand, they're really screwed. And so I think what's happening, a lot of people are going to be waiting for the older family members to pass down some of these assets or savings or retirement accounts. But it's going to get even more difficult for Gen Zs. I think Gen Alpha is the next one. I can't even imagine. I don't even know what that looks like. But some of the reason was I believe Gen Zs and myself, it's not like we're off the hook, are really going to have the short end of the stick is for this main reason: high cost of living versus low early career pay. So as we progress, in another video I talked about AI and how companies all care about profit, right? Shocker. So their main concern is how can we make more money with less money going out, i.e. Salaries, healthcare, vacation, PTO, whatever. Gen Zs are going against AI. Now, the positive thing is that Gen Zs are the ones that can learn technology the easiest. They've grown up with it. But now they have to go against it. Also, student debt, while they also believe the idea, like millennials, especially Gen Xers, to go to school, get a degree, because that will set you up for the future. Statistically, they're not getting hired the way Gen Xers and millennials were getting hired after they completed their, let's say, bachelor's degree or their master's degree. It's interesting to me that now a master's degree is equivalent to a bachelor's, and a bachelor's degree is equivalent to a high school degree, per some article that I read. Obviously, the major and the field that they go into depends on the pay and the job availability. However, I think what I've noticed, a lot of Gen Zs are pushing towards this idea of, plumbing, HVAC, electric, contracting, more manual labor, because they understand that it's so competitive to get some type of, digital or computer. Now, not everybody, obviously, most Gen Zs want to go and do digital work and utilize things like YouTube or Twitch or, Patreon and all these different digital platforms to create a personal brand, digital footprint, and create a business, because now, for the first time, Gen Zs are able to see the possibilities that these digital platforms can create. The reason why I'm making these videos, it would be great to go viral, but mostly it's to tell myself in 10 years, how much savings did you have back then? How much of the things that you talked about came true? Um, how diligent and things like that were you back in 2026? And but Gen Zs, they have a different mentality. I don't know if it's good or bad. They just have a different mentality than millennials. They don't want to have as many kids. Don't blame them. It's hard to start a family when you don't have that much money, right? Or can even buy for a home. So millennials, again, I feel like they had the short end of the stick for many different reasons. They talk about they, as in the people. They talk about Black Swan, you know, events. This happens once in a lifetime. Well, I feel like we've had once in a lifetime, like every other year, from 9/11 that affects stock market, housing market, the housing market that obviously affected the entire stock market and the housing. And who benefited from that home crash? Gen Xers, boomers. Millennials didn't have money. COVID, that definitely had a major impact. Now, some may say, well, it jumped back up. Yeah, but every single time that those events happen, those one in a lifetime catalyst events happen, everything goes up. Inflation's through the roof. I was looking at this article from early 2000s, and cars were about 20,000, 22,000, brand new, right? Like, that was a pretty decent car. Not the top of the line, but a pretty decent new. Now we're looking at 40,000. You mean to tell me that inflation went 1x when my pay did not go 1x? But anyways, back to some of the different mentalities that I think is gonna keep Gen Zs in a very difficult situation. Credit card, the buy now, pay later debt. I can't tell you how many young people, and I don't blame them, right? Because they're in the digital world. They're the immediate gratification with TikTok, with um, with Instagram. They see it, they want it, they must experience it now. And I would do the same if I was young. Luckily we had social media, but not to the point where we had full access 24/7 like these kids do. So what I mean is, they Gen Zs, and I can only imagine Gen Alpha, they're the I want it now and I'll pay later type of experience. Credit cards gonna go through the roof, right? The the points for the flying points. I don't know anything about the credit card game, but I know that's a huge thing among my millennial friends and obviously the Gen Zs. Not knowing that those games keep you broke because they keep you spending more. The whole traditional Dave Ramsey, right? You spend more money when you don't feel the pain of counting the cash. Now, also, some of these kids don't even know what cash is. They don't carry it. They don't want to, physically have to count it. Sometimes they don't even know how to count. Not trying to, throw some shade, but that's the reality. It's a different world that they're living in. And, it, for good or bad, it's gonna be the world. And I think this is a conspiracy, theorist in me. The government wants it that way. The government does not want cash circulating because, number one, they cannot track it as easily. They cannot maintain their society in check. A lot of cash businesses or services are deemed to be illegal / unhealthy, but it's not really so much for the service that they're providing, street vendors or, some of the oldest jobs in the book, but it's more because they can't track the cash. So if you can't tax cash, you gotta eliminate it. And we just saw this example just recently. Within the last week, it was announced that the penny is no longer going to be in circulation. So whatever is done, I believe some banks are going to start collecting them, and that's it. So as they start making the rounds through the bank, they're going to start collecting the pennies. Now some may say, oh, this is great, I don't have to carry bulky coins, blah blah blah. I disagree. I'm not saying we're gonna have UBI, universal, basic income, but when you can track every little thing that your citizens can do, that's it. Some may say, well, that's good because then people will pay all their fair share taxes. Maybe, maybe. I don't know, but at the end of the day, I think this new generation, Gen Z, they have their work cut out for them. Millennials, I feel like we're still trying. We still have, quote unquote, that ability to be able to purchase a home, go on vacations, have a family. It's really thin. Gen Zs are really going to have to make that tough decision. And I think we're starting to see what they're doing, which is they want to enjoy life. I don't blame them. So kids, it's not in the vocabulary now, because it's either I get to spend some time in my 20s, or do I try to have a kid and then say goodbye to the dream of owning a home and traveling. Also, car payments, obviously, as I discussed in the previous video, they're through the roof. And the average cost of a car is 20,000 plus, and that's not a new car. It's a scary place to be in, and I think it's only gonna get worse. So hence why I make these videos, for me to continue to save, continue to invest, continue to watch the market, continue to learn, and continue to see the patterns from the boomer generation. Some may say, oh, that generation doesn't matter to you. I disagree. I think there's always opportunity. Obviously, the mindset has to be there. But also understanding that Gen Zs have a hard challenge ahead of them, and my kids and their kids. What can I do to ensure that I can place them in the best situation possible?